This is an art collage novel video. I made this series so you guys can experience the story faster. The video will focus on the character's psychology, the images are for illustration purposes only. The faces of the people of Red Moon City were extremely ugly. Tang Ching was by no means a reckless fool. After the incident with Song Yayang in the city, he was still alive and well. Moreover, the four extreme sex forces were so powerful. This man was definitely not simple. Tang Ching, you brat, aren't your words a little too big? Elder Hong said coldly. This old man really wants to see what kind of trump card you have that can stop me from making a move. Tang Ching smiled slightly and respectfully invited somewhere in the sky, my lord, please show yourself. Everyone's heart trembled as they turned their eyes towards the void. As Tang Ching's voice fell, the endless black night seemed to gather there, condensing into a black robe, and gradually revealed a figure. The man walked forward gently, and with every step, a ripple spread in the air. He walked extremely slowly, but everyone in the Red Moon City had a gloomy expression. Because they couldn't feel any aura from that person. If they didn't see it in front of them and only relied on their divine sense, they wouldn't have thought that there was someone there. For a moment, everyone's eyes were focused on the black robe, and they could not see the man's face clearly. They only felt that they were looking at the void. Yuan Yuanci and the other powerhouses of Red Moon City all had cold sweat on their palms. This could only mean one thing: this person's comprehension of martial arts was already above all of them. He had almost merged with heaven and earth, and he was no longer self or anything. The three elders, red, yellow and blue, also looked serious. Elder Hong said coldly, who are you? The black-robed man ignored him and walked directly to Tang Ching. Then, he turned around. The snowflakes seemed to reflect the man's face. He flashed in front of the three old men, but his face fell into the eyes of the three old men. Ah! The three old men screamed at the same time and retreated in shock. The three of them looked at each other in disbelief and confirmed that what they had seen was right. Yuan Yuanci and the others were even more shocked. They didn't know who this person was that could make the three old men, who usually didn't care about worldly affairs, so terrified. His heart immediately sank, and he realized that the situation was extremely bad. Elder Hong suppressed the fear in his heart and said in a trembling voice, is it really you? A voice came out from the black robe, it's me. Elder Hong's expression changed. This familiar voice made his body tremble. He gritted his teeth and said, why? The cycle of the heavenly Tao is endless, the black-robed man said indifferently. History will roll forward. Isn't it good for the Red Moon City to include the four extremes sect? This? Elder Hong couldn't answer for a moment. The three of them had always been in closed-door cultivation, so they couldn't answer these questions. Yuan Yuanci hurriedly said, the matter of accepting the four extremes sect is not impossible to discuss. If the four extremes sect is really willing, we can do as I said. I believe that Red Moon City will definitely consider accepting them in detail. You're Yuan Jingye's son. Not bad, the black-robed man said. Yuan Yuanci's heart trembled. This black-robed man gave him an extremely familiar feeling. Furthermore, he seemed to contain an infinite amount of majesty that made him not dare to offend him. Who are you? Jiang Ruoshi couldn't help but cry out. The black-robed man slowly raised his head. In the endless void, there seemed to be a ray of light flashing through the sky, which was shocking. Swish! Jiang Ruoshi was instantly dazed and retreated in shock. He looked as if he had seen a ghost and said in horror, you're. The rest of the words seemed to be stuck in his throat. His face was red, but he could not say it no matter what. Yuan Yuanci was suddenly startled, and finally remembered who the person in front of him was. His eyes were filled with shock as he said, you? Are you really my lord? The black-robed man nodded slightly and said, you remember me too. Yuan Yuanci felt as if his heart had fallen into a deep abyss. Today's matter would not end well. If the person in front of him was really this person, then Red Moon City would no longer be able to stop the wheels of change. What if we refuse? He gritted his teeth and asked. Do you want to attack me? The black-robed man asked slowly. Ruan Yuanxi suddenly shut his mouth, his face deathly pale. Even the red, yellow, and blue elders' faces were ashen, as if they had no idea what to do. Ruan Hongyu's heart skipped a beat as she recalled the owner of the voice. So it's you. Her eyes were filled with shock as she said anxiously, if it's really you, why didn't you save Ning Kuyue, who is now trapped on the purple cloud peak? The black-robed man seemed to be slightly moved, but he quickly regained his calm and said, because in my heart, the matter of the Red Moon City is far more important than my daughter. Swish. Cold air was drawn in the air, and everyone was shocked to the extreme. Everyone immediately understood the identity of the black-robed man. He was Ning Kuyue's father, the previous lord of the Red Moon City, Ning Kue. Didn't the previous city lord go missing for many years? Why was he with the people from the Four Extremes sect? Moreover, at this crucial moment of life and death, he was actually helping an outsider? Everyone revealed a shocked and strange expression, unable to understand. Ruan Hongyu sneered, the matter of the Red Moon City is more important than your daughter? You're definitely not the previous city lord, Ning Kue. No father would watch his daughter die without saving her. No sect leader with a conscience would watch his sect's foundation be destroyed and help the evildoer. Whether I'd rather do it than let you decide, the black-robed man said. No one can change the facts. With the three elders' strength, they can naturally tell if I'm real or not. He really is the previous city lord, Ning Kue. He's not fake at all. Elder Hong's face was ashen as he gritted his teeth. Unless one had reached the level of Gu Feiyue's heaven-peaking eye technique, there was no illusionary technique in the world that could deceive the three of them, or even the countless experts in the entire Red Moon City. Since the three old men have already confirmed my identity, you should listen to me, the black-robed man said. Now, I will use my identity as the city master of Red Moon City to absorb the Four Extremes sect and make it a glorious situation for the four sects to prosper together. Everyone's heart trembled, and they didn't know what to do. The opponent's trump card was actually their highest commander. How was the situation going to develop? Ruan Hongyu said firmly, even if you are the previous city lord, that was a long time ago. There is only one city lord in the Red Moon City now, and that is my husband, Jiang Churen. Everyone must listen to the city lord's orders, even the previous city lord. As of now, my husband is still in the depths of the world, and the entire affairs of the Red Moon City are under the control of the 5 elders of the parliament. This is also the rule of the Red Moon City, and now the entire Red Moon City is under the control of the 5 elders of the parliament. Since you are also a person of the Red Moon City, you should naturally listen to the orders of the 5 elders. Not bad. If you're still a citizen of Red Moon City, you should follow the rules of Red Moon City, Ruan Yuanxi said seriously. If you're no longer a citizen of Red Moon City, then you naturally don't have the identity of the previous city lord. Oh. Ruan Jingye has a pair of sharp-tongued children. Who are the 5 elders in the parliament? Ning Kue said coldly. Ask them to come out and talk to me. Everyone in Red Moon City immediately looked at Ning Yuanmen and the other 3. After Ning Huaishu was stepped on by Tang Qing, he felt ashamed and angry. He did not have the face to see the crowd and did not get up again. The faces of Ning Yuanmen and the other 3 turned pale. When had they ever experienced such a scene? In particular, Ning Kue's black robe seemed to flash with an extremely stern gaze. When they thought of this person's previous governance of the Red Moon City, the 4 of them were frightened and their faces turned pale. Fu Yichuan gritted his teeth and said, before City Lord Jiang entered the end of the world, he instructed Ruan Hongyu to handle internal affairs, and Ning Kuyue to handle external affairs. Now, Ning Kuyue has also instructed Ruan Yuanxi to handle external affairs. In that case, everything will be decided by the Ruan siblings. The 5 of us, as members of the parliament, will do our best to assist them. The people of Red Moon City were filled with contempt. Fu Yichuan and the other 3 felt their faces burning. They could feel the contempt and disdain from the crowd, but compared to facing Ning Kue's pressure, they would rather bow their heads. You 5 were trash before, and you're still trash now. Ning Kue snorted contemptuously and disdainfully, as if he was angry. Tang Qing, who had been watching coldly from the side and did not say a word, frowned slightly when he heard this, but he quickly regained his calm. Fu Yichuan and the other three's faces were so red that blood was about to drip out. They wished that they were the ones who were stepped on by Tang Qing earlier, so that they could hide below and not come up. Ning Kuei looked at Ruan Hongyu and the other woman and said indifferently, since the entire Red Moon City is now listening to the two of you, then the direction of the Red Moon City will be on the shoulders of the two of you. The two of them were shocked, as if they had heard something unusual. They looked at each other in horror, only to feel that their palms were covered in cold sweat. The two of them felt a little breathless, with such a huge burden on their shoulders. Ning Kuei said, if you resist, not only will you have to face me tonight, but you will also have to face the entire Four Extreme sect. Even if you are lucky enough to survive tonight, when the sun rises tomorrow, you might have to face all the sects in the eastern region that are suppressed by the Red Moon City. Are you too confident? Ruan Yuanxi and his sister's faces were as white as a sheet. How could they be confident in such a thing? The Red Moon City had stood in the eastern region for countless years. God knew how many enemies were hidden in the dark. If their power declined, the result would be unimaginable. Ruan Yuanxi's gaze turned to the red, yellow, and blue elders, seeking their opinion. At this moment, his entire body was already drenched in cold sweat. The three old men all sighed inwardly and gave him an encouraging look, meaning that he could make the decision. The three of them were good at fighting, but their ability to deal with important matters was very limited. They knew their own limitations, so they did not participate in political affairs. Ruan Yuanxi swallowed with difficulty as he looked at the burning gazes of the martial artists of the Red Moon City and the cold expressions of the Four Extreme sect. He would rather think about the unfathomable thoughts of the black-robed man. It was as if he had made the most difficult decision in his life. I agree, he said through gritted teeth, his body trembling. This sentence used up all his energy, and his entire person became dispirited and dejected. The heavy snow fell on the hearts of every strong man in Red Moon City, and it was difficult to dispel the chill. It seemed to be announcing the end of an era and the arrival of a new one. The purple cloud peak was shrouded in clouds and mist, and the divine sense couldn't penetrate it. Under the moonlight, it was like the shadow of a monster, devouring all light. Ning Keyue's face became more and more unsightly. The restrictive spell in the mountains had changed. It was no longer a means set up by the Red Moon City. Then, the strong men of the Red Moon City who were guarding the mountains were probably dead. Snowflakes filled the sky, and the atmosphere between heaven and earth became increasingly heavy. Her face was extremely gloomy. She raised her hand, and a golden light gathered into a blade shadow, which directly chopped down at the mountain. Hiss. There was no huge tremor as expected. Instead, a ray of restriction light was torn apart like a piece of cloth, like the coat of a mountain being torn apart, revealing the white flesh inside. Ning Keyue instantly turned into a golden light and entered it. After a few flashes, she appeared on the top of the mountain. Under the moonlight, it was like the setting sun. A tragic scene appeared in front of him. All the disciples of the Red Moon City were dead. The entrance to the ancient place in the sky was blocked by a layer of white mist. It seemed to be the smoke coming out of the entrance, and no one could enter it. Ning Keyue's face was frighteningly calm. She walked to a corpse, bent down, and gently picked it up. It was Jiang Bieli. His body had been pierced through the heart and there were no signs of a battle around him. He had been killed in one move. A Tier 7 martial emperor had been killed in one move. Jiang Bieli's eyes were filled with fear. It was obvious that he had died with grievances. Suddenly, Jiang Bieli's hand that was hanging down moved as though it was spasming. Ning Keyue was shocked and hurriedly grabbed his hand. Perhaps she still had a chance to live. At this moment, Jiang Bieli suddenly opened his eyes and a green radiance shot out from his eyes. He opened his eyes and spat out a mouthful of thick smoke and poison. Ning Keyue reacted very quickly. A beam of Emperor Qi burst out of her body to block in front of her, but the smoke could directly corrode the Emperor Qi. It reached her in an instant. Swish! Ning Keyue shouted. A strange note suddenly appeared and blew away the poisonous smoke. She quickly retreated a few meters and looked around vigilantly. All the corpses on the mountain peak began to move. One by one, they got up from the ground, shaking their heads. Their movements were very slow, and their flashing green eyes proved that they were already dead and controlled by someone. "Who is it?" "Die," she shouted in a gloomy and angry voice. Her killing intent was released without any restraint, shooting out like a sharp wind. These were all disciples of the Red Moon City. Not only had they been killed, but their bodies had also been used by others. Ning Qiue's heart was burning with anger. She spread her divine sense in all directions, but she could not find anyone. The restrictions on the mountain seemed to be able to be used by the other party to hide their tracks. The dozens of corpses had already stood firm at this moment, and the aura on their bodies began to rise. It was mixed with an extremely rotten smell, which made people feel nauseous. Ning Qiue's face was so gloomy that water was about to drip out. She made a gesture of playing the flute with her hands and gently placed it at the corner of her mouth. She began to play a tune, which was like the murmuring of water and the dew of bamboo leaves. It was shocking in the snow. The aura of the corpses that were emitting a sense of decay stopped rising, as if they were listening. Time passed unknowingly, and the melodious sound of the flute changed slightly, like an elegy, for whom, and for whom. Plop. Suddenly, a corpse lost its balance and fell down. Its entire face was buried in the snow, and it stopped moving. Plop. Plop. Pft. Then, a series of corpses began to fall one by one, and in the end, no one stood up. The mournful sorrow intertwined with the elegy of the flute, flying in the sky of snow. Jiang Bieli's corpse was lying on the white snow with his head facing the sky. His eyes were closed and he looked peaceful. Eh? A questioning voice suddenly came from the air, as if it was unbelievable. Ning Qiue's pupils shrank. She changed the sound of the flute and turned it into a sharp sound wave that shot out directly, rippling the snow in the sky. In the direction of the sound wave, the space fluctuated, revealing a gray figure, who casually slapped down. The two forces collided in the air, shattering the flying snow like thousands of rags scattering in the sky. The shadow appeared and then disappeared rapidly, as if it did not dare to confront it directly. "Trash, come out!" Ning Qiue shouted, and the scepter immediately appeared in her hand. It immediately glowed with golden light, illuminating the entire mountain. Her right hand trembled slightly, and an ancient sound spread out. The entire space fluctuated with the frequency of the ancient sound, pushing forward layer by layer. In the upper right corner, the gray figure appeared again. He quickly made a hand seal, and rays of light gathered from all directions, turning into a mini mountain in his hand. With a point of his finger, the mountain immediately pressed down on Ning Qiue. Upon a closer look, the mini mountain looked exactly like the purple cloud peak. Ning Qiue was also shocked. She said in surprise, "Extracting the mountain soul?" The other party had actually extracted the mountain soul essence with a simple gesture, borrowing the power of the mountain to resist the opponent. Song of subduing the soul, the business of 5 tones. Ning Qiue's face darkened. She released a shangyin from the Song of Time. A strong power of the 5 elements broke through the air and blocked the mountain soul essence. Song of subduing soul's feathers of 5 tones. The melody of the shang music changed, and the mountain soul essence trembled. With a bang, it scattered in the air and turned into countless rays of light. They flew back to the purple cloud peak. The gray figure's eyes were filled with shock, but he didn't dodge again. Instead, he stood in the sky and slowly said, "You're stronger than I expected. It seems like I've underestimated you." Ning Qiue's eyes were full of killing intent. She said coldly, "Who are you? What is your intention?" The man flew down from the sky and stepped on the snow, saying, "You can call me Yang Yuanshu." Yang Yuanshu? Ning Qiue frowned. Such a strange name, but he was so powerful. "As for the purpose, it's to kill you." Yang Yuanshu continued. "Kill me? Just you? What a joke." Ning Qiue sneered coldly. You're indeed stronger than I'd expected, but don't look down on me, Yang Yuanshu said seriously. The entire purple cloud peak is within my spell formation, and I've long since set up all sorts of killing moves. Ning Qiue frowned and pointed to the white mist at the entrance of the planet. You made that thing too? Yang Yuanshu said, it's an item developed according to an ancient alchemy recipe. It can be used to seal the entrance to a space. This is also the first time it's being used. However, I'm just a support. I'm not strong enough to seal the immortal realm. Ning Qiue's heart trembled. She felt that there was a huge trap coming toward the Red Moon City. Although the man in front of her was ordinary, he had amazing means. He was not the leader yet. Ning Qiue said coldly, you're a secret alchemist? Who is the person behind you? So what if you know who's behind me? Yang Yuanshu asked. It can't change your fate. Yang Yuanshu quickly drew a few formation talismans in front of him and threw them into the ground. Immediately, the mountain peak trembled violently. With a rumble, coffins broke out of the ground one after another, as if they were tombstones standing on the summit of the purple clouds. Ning Qiue was shocked. These coffins all gave off a rotten smell, and the shape and material were the same, but they were of different ages. It seemed that they had been excavated from the same place. Walla walla. The lids of the coffins immediately flew out, and the corpses inside all exuded an unusually powerful aura. The putrid smell of decay also hit them in the face. Ning Qiue's face suddenly turned pale. Not only was the smell disgusting, but the bodies in the coffins were also strange. Many of them had been dried up, and some had more than half of their bones exposed. It was chilling. What really changed her appearance was the qi on these mummies. Each and every one of them was unusually powerful, and 3 of them gave her an extremely oppressive feeling. The cultivation of these 3 people was definitely not below her when they were alive. Which sect's tomb did you rob? Ning Qiue was furious. Yang Yuanshu's eyes flickered with extreme excitement as he looked at the corpses. He let out a strange laugh and said, What do you think? In order to exchange for these corpses, you almost made me go bankrupt. All of them are my treasures. Yang Yuanshu, who had looked normal before, became a little twisted after seeing these corpses, like a lunatic. He even stretched out his mouth and kissed them a few times, which made Ning Qiue feel nauseated. She thought to herself that these alchemists were all abnormal and unreasonable. But what shocked her was that the positions where these corpses appeared seemed to be arranged in an extremely powerful array. Each person's position had a hidden profound weapon. Yang Yuanshu laughed strangely and said, these 36 ancient corpses were all 9 stars martial sovereigns before they died. Moreover, the 3 that I love the most were peak 9-star experts when they were alive. They are not inferior to you at all. Ning Qiue felt a chill in her heart and said angrily, such a peerless figure has to be humiliated by you even after his death. He really deserves to die. A cold light flashed in her hand as she struck the nearest corpse. A golden light shot out from the Song of the Ages and turned into a slash. Bang. The coffin behind the corpse was directly shattered by the force, and after the corpse was hit, only half of its neck was cut in, but it could not penetrate through. What? Ning Qiue was shocked. Even an 8th-tier mystic weapon would have been broken by her attack just now. How could this corpse be more powerful than an 8th-tier mystic weapon? Damn it! Yang Yuanshu roared in shock and anger. How dare you sneak attack my baby? Go. He shot out a strange symbol in his hand, and the corpses seemed to come to life. Their eyes glowed green and emitted a powerful aura as they charged toward Ning Qiue. The corpse that had been attacked earlier made a hand seal with one hand. A fist radiance flew over, and the fist force roared in the air and blasted down.